That's going to be a 21% return on investment on a single let.
Wow,
and I
that's
have
amazing.
got other plans for it, perhaps on the exit strategy, because I
Yes.
like multiple exit strategies. And I thought he was just going to say the 75% into the property, and I found somebody else to do the renovation. And in actual fact, well, no, he said, I don't want that. I don't want anybody else involved in this. I'll lend you the renovation money as well. And I'm sitting there going, fine, thank you, yes, right.
Yeah. Things that you weren't even aware of or you thought were impossible, you are now doing.
I know. It has been one of the best things I have ever done, educating myself at this great age. Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Let's invite our next guest, who's actually going to come and join me live on stage. Please put your hands in the air for Joanne Sainsbury. Joanne, hello, take a seat.
Thank you very much indeed.
Great to see you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in this morning.
Amazing to be here.
I'm going to give this to you so you can drive. It's the green one.
Thank
We'll
you.
push the slides on. So first of all, Joanne, before we do any of the slides, I want people to share and learn a bit more about you. Give us a bit about your background, Joanne. What have you done prior to the training you've done with us?
Okay, so prior to the training, I've actually been self-employed all my life, so I'm totally unemployable and always have been.
I am now as well, definitely, yeah.
And I ran some petrol stations for many years, and then for the last 25 years I actually had a gift shop in Stratford-upon-Avon.
Okay.
So it's right opposite Shakespeare's birthplace, very busy gift shop. I had 2 in the road. Loved it, did that, thoroughly enjoyed it. And in 1999 I did actually buy 2 properties. So I wasn't an accidental landlord. I've always loved property, and bought those.
And so obviously it sounds like you've always been entrepreneurial. and you know, if anyone's listening and if you've got a business, running a business, if you're making profit in your business, one of the best things to do is to use that money. You can lend it to yourself or your property business to acquire assets, use momentum investing, and even pay it back to the business rather than just leaving it in the business. So, don't leave the money in the bank account. It's just such a waste there. Yeah. So obviously you made some money, you invested in properties.
Absolutely, yes. That was in 1999.
Okay, right.
And then just dabbled over the years, but retail was my major thing.
Yes.
I decided to sell, and in 2019 I was lucky to sell my business as a share sale.
Okay, great.
And being a retail business, you don't know what you don't know, and thank goodness I did in actual fact.
Absolutely, yes. Just so before 2024 COVID, you managed to get out, bring that cash off the table.
Yes, which is absolutely great. I then went to the Home and Renovation Show and met the lovely Caroline Langford, who was selling the YPN magazine.
Yes, yeah, she's lovely, isn't she? Yeah.
Oh, she's fantastic. And your book.
Yes.
I absolutely devoured it. I went home, I read that book. Oh, I just stayed up all night, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was so naive. Seriously, I thought HMOs were just for students. Never even dreamt they were for professionals.
Yeah.
And ordinary money, ordinary people lending money to ordinary people? No way, that just didn't happen.
Yeah.
I just was so naive. So you can see why I enjoyed the book and the magazine and everything.
Yeah.
And then I signed up for your HMO online course.
Yes, and actually I remember we met in a PIN meeting.
We did,
yes.
Yes. And you said, Joe, don't do anything until you finish the course.
Yes.
And that was the best advice I got, because I'd put an offer in a property, rang the agent the next day and said, I don't want this property anymore, thank you very much.
And you know, it's great people come and get some training, whatever that might be, and we sometimes say, look, you don't know what you don't know, which is so true. And so sometimes when people do this kind of event, and then people who've come onto MMA, I say, look, although you love this event and there's lots of great stuff you can take action, do lots of stuff, but don't actually buy any properties until you've done MMA, because we've had people who've bought a property and come on MMA, and it might still be an okay, but they think, I could have done it in such a better way and save myself a load of money, or sometimes say, actually, I shouldn't have bought that property. So it's a case of you need to take action. Don't keep learning and not doing. You can absolutely do stuff, but sometimes you need to fill in the gaps, don't you, really? And I know you came with your husband onto MMA, didn't you?
That was one of the best things that happened, because even though he's fully employed and backs me in my business, it's fantastic, but he's not in my business.
Yes.
But I go away and I say, should we do an EDC, or should we do? And he'll actually understand the jargon and the lingo, and it was the best thing.
Do you think if he didn't understand the language, he would, even though it's just be a bit more nervous about it because he doesn't quite know what you're doing?
He's opposite to wealth dynamics to me as well.
Right.
So he is the one that sort of can rein back and can question, but that is fantastic, the fact that he does question,
Yes.
but because he's been on MMA, he's got that mindset and that open.
So it's a supportive questioning,
It is.
checking things are right, rather than, oh no, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, absolutely, the supportive. We
Yes.
just then double check things, and
Yeah.
he'll bring up some things and I go, no, yeah, that's right. So yeah, he's supportive but checks.
Yeah, and that's really good because, you know, again, doing things on your own, sometimes we miss things, right? So having someone, whether it's your partner who knows what they're talking about, or whether it's a coach, or, you know, just buddies, etc., really valuable, right?
Very valuable, yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Great.
Yes,
So
yeah.
so then obviously you read the book, you like that, you came on MMA with Mark, and actually, so I want to just address this because I remember we had a conversation, and you did MMA, and then you were thinking about doing Mastermind later on, and I think you didn't come on straight away.
No.
I think there was a gap, and then you were kind of, I'm going to do it, and I said, Joanne, how long are you going to put this off for? Do you remember the conversation?
I remember it really well.
Because you were finding deals and you were doing stuff, and I just thought you had so much potential to get there quicker than you were, and look, I think this is going to help people, right? And by the way, you're not the only person who does this, so I think it's going to help people. What was it why were you putting stuff off in your head?
It's lack of confidence, lack of belief, really, that, well, I mean, other people do it. I mean, I'm sure they're fine, but you know, it was just lack of confidence and belief, really.
Yeah. And actually coming on Mastermind, I would say, and people who know you say, I think you have massively improved your confidence and your social media presence and those kind of things beyond recognition. Would you say that's fair?
Well, absolutely, do as Simon says, follow the process. And since I came on Mastermind,
and you've done exactly that.
Absolutely, yes.
You've just done it.
Absolutely, yes. So tell people what you do. That's what you've said, and that's what I've been doing.
Yes, and it's worked well, hasn't it?
It's brought me investors. It's just been amazing. Here with me, people are believing in me, investing in me and my company. They're getting a massive return. I'll tell you about the next job I've got with a big investor.
Right.
And it's been an incredible journey.
Right. Let's start talking about some of the things you've actually done then, shall we?
Yes, so I'll just whiz through some of the little things.
Yes, fine. Yep.
So, Smelly House, smell the money. I'll
Absolutely.
never ever forget you saying that. And there you're going, smell the money.
Don't give all the secrets from MMA away now. But
It's okay.
Yeah.
And literally this was a really, really smelly house.
Yeah.
And I bought this on a bridge to let.
Yes.
So, which is an interesting product out there.
Yeah.
I bought this property, which was a 4-bedroomed house, and renovated into a 5-bedroomed HMO. You know, as you say, the first deal you do is probably never the best deal.
No, absolutely. But getting that first one under your belt gives you so much confidence, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And to be quite honest, there's money left in, but I get $1,275 a month net for that property, and it gives me a 21% return on the money that's left in.
Great. So pretty healthy, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
how does that compare to the single lets you bought 20 years ago?
Oh, well, indeed. I think the return on the money there is very low,
Yes.
4 or 5%.
And the cash flows.
The cash flow.
Pretty low.
But yes, exactly. And there was me just bumbling along, not realising. I did do one of the flats up, and overnight I got £150 per month extra for it.
Yeah.
And that was, again, just repurpose what you actually have.
Yes.
You know.
That's one of the things. And by the way, anyone who's watching this, if you are already an experienced investor, one of the best things you can do as a result of this training is just look at your existing portfolio and saying, what can I do to it? Can I enhance it? Do I need to do a bit of a refurb and raise the value and raise the rents? You know, and it's the quickest win for anyone who's already got property. Yeah. And I guess they would have done pretty well capital growth wise over those 20 years.
I have taken some money out over the years.
Yes.
And recently, because another thing you very quickly said, so on both of them, I took some money out to be able to invest fairly early on in Mastermind.
Yeah.
So, but I did have this light bulb moment in Mastermind when you were saying repurpose one of your properties. And we had a bungalow that my mum had for any years. She died 10 years ago. I've just had a tenant in there. And when I look back at the ROI now, I mean, it's just dreadful. So we took that property, we actually renovated it, we spent £75,000 on it, went into the garage, did a really big renovation on it, made it modern, open plan, patio doors, beautiful. to do service accommodation.
Yeah.
I then got cold feet because of COVID.
Yes.
Even had to, I'd ordered the furniture, I had to sort of ring up and say, I'm sorry, please cancel the furniture. Because I'd spoken to an agent, and when he told me the price that he could sell that property I thought, come on, this is actually a no-brainer. So we sold the property very quickly, and in actual fact, we made a clear, absolutely after every single thing, clear £40,000 profit.
Right.
So obviously I'd had the capital gain over the years, we'd paid our CGT, we'd paid all that, but at the very last of that, so I think, you know, had I not sold that property, I would not have that clear £40,000 profit from it. So that was fantastic.
Absolutely. And then obviously that's money to reinvest in the next project,
That's
give you
right.
a better return on investment.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So, and then the next thing I did was I actually found myself a below market value residential house. I offered on this, this 3 months before, and it got sold quite quickly. So I thought, fine. Followed up with the agent it was about 2 months afterwards, 3 months afterwards, and he said, it's just come back on the market, the sale's fallen through.
No, surely follow-up doesn't work, does it?
No, it doesn't work at all.
Such an easy thing to do, but most people just don't do it.
Yeah. So I went down to see the property again, and I had a good look round, and the time I went, there was water in the cellar, and I'd made a few inquiries on this. So I stood in the cellar and went, oh dear, this isn't good, is it? Rang my builder while I was there on the phone, and I said, how much to sort of sort of cellar out? I'd primed him actually.
Yeah.
Well, you taught me to do that.
Yeah.
And about 10 grand at least to sort that out. So I went to the agent. Now I can only offer at least 10,000 less. I offered 12,500 less. Anyway, I got it for 10,000 less.
Yeah.
And I then proceeded to turn that into a 4-bed mini-mo.
Yeah.
I had been talking for 2 years on social media to a company that does adults with learning difficulties.
Yeah.
And I just said, I have this property, and they have taken it off me on a 5-year contract.
Fantastic.
And they put in these adults with learning difficulties.
Brilliant. So you're helping that charity.
That was fantastic.
Which is a brilliant thing to do, and I know that you're big on that kind of thing.
Yes.
And you got no management costs, no maintenance, no bills, nothing.
Absolutely. And on that I get 1,300 net profit again on that, which gives me 22% return on my money, on my investment left in.
Yeah.
So, you know, I am leaving investment in, but I'm there for the long term. It's not a short term thing for me, so really quite happy with that.
Brilliant.
So there's a lovely guy, Phil Saunders, on the circuit who does yurts, and he makes money out of a field.
Mastermind 27 or 28?
That's right,
27 I think, yes.
Yeah, 28 anyway.
28, yes.
Yeah, it's just finished. Absolutely great. Well, I just got totally inspired in the area that we love. So we decided to have a yurt off him and do service accommodation. He runs all that.
Yeah.
Long story cut short, the yurt has not arrived. So very quickly, very quickly, we got a bell tent because we were renting the land. We'd got the lav shack, the shower shack. We'd got everything set up. Phil was ready to roll, and we bought a bell tent.
Yeah.
Well, both of us are so amazed at how this bell tent's gone.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I've got 600 income down there. We made a net, after paying the landowner, £763 a month for we got in August.
Wow.
Out of one bell tent. And that is Phil taking his commission, that's everything, 763. Now, I'm not naive enough to know that's going to happen all the time, but so that was a bit of fun, definitely.
Yeah. And there it is.
So there's the bell tent, and these are the properties. Yeah. I'd like to actually roll on to, I don't really want to go on to the rent to rent, because rent to net's not my strategy, but this is just in my area, and it's just so close, and he didn't want to sell yet, but I am going to be doing this. So you're developing
that relationship now to help the guy out, but that could turn into a PLO or
That's right. It's early days with it, and I am going to take it on. And you know, I'm going to earn about 750 net profit from this rent to rent, because it's a lovely rent to rent.
Right.
But I would like to tell you, Simon, about is my newsagent shop to 2 Victorian houses.
Tell us about this then. Yeah.
So this was as you can see, a very badly converted newsagent shop. It's been a newsagent for about 20 years, I believe, and in a road in Worcester, and I had its local convenience store, and very well I think the people very well respected is the word I'm looking for. But what happened is the co-op went and opened 500 metres down.
Oh, kill the business.
Kill the business totally. So we've done a deal on this where we have a private investor funding 217,000 of it.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to that, but I am doing an earn and learn on this as well.
Yes,
that's a great
yeah.
thing. Yes,
Yeah.
The property has been empty for over 2 years, which I believe we get the 5% VAT back on the build, which is fantastic. I've purchased it for 210,000 and we're going to spend about 80k on the refurb. I've added my 10k cost and a 15k back to the investor after I've paid them back. The GDV is going to be 390. And we're going to remortgage at a 75% loan to value, which will give me 292,500. Total cost of 315,000, and so I'm going to end up leaving about 22,500 in this again.
Yeah.
If I do it as a single let, the income's going to be 11,600, but after I've paid the investor back and the money that I've left in, that's going to be a 21% return on investment on a single let.
Wow,
and I have got other plans for it, perhaps on the exit strategy, because I like multiple exit strategies.
That's incredible. Yeah, so you should always have a couple of exit strategies in case your main plan doesn't work. But a couple of things I want to pick up that you mentioned here. So first of all, £200,000+ of private investor.
Yes.
Now, I believe, as several people mentioned, mindset's really important. Yeah. And I remember when we started Mastermind, Joanne, I seem to think you had this impression that you had to just use your money to invest.
Yes.
Which is what most people think.
Yes.
Yes, and I know you don't mind me teasing
Not
you a little
at
bit
all,
about
because
this.
it's so right.
And it was, why would someone else lend to me?
Yeah.
And now you're doing a lend and learn where it's a great, by the way, lend and learn, if you're not doing it, £100,000 idea. Where someone is into property, they want to learn, but they want to learn practically by looking over your shoulder.
Yes.
And you pay them an interest rate, so they make money still, but you're paying them a much lower rate.
Yes.
Because the real value for them is learning what you're actually doing.
Yes.
And looking over your shoulder. It's just a very, very powerful thing to do. And, you know, obviously you have to have some track record of some results, which you now have. And how's that compared to you thinking you had to do everything with your own money?
Oh, it's mind-blowing. It really is. I just didn't. I'd actually found another investor for this property as well.
Yeah.
And the original investor, and this is what you say, they won't let go in the end because he's getting a good return on his money.
Yeah.
He's done an investment with me before.
So when you paid him back,
I've paid him
says,
back.
Well, do you want the money back, Joanne? Because he wants the return, right?
Absolutely. And I thought he was just going to say the 75% into the property, and I found somebody else to do the renovation. And in actual fact, well, no, he said, I don't want that. I don't want anybody else involved in this. I'll lend you the renovation money as well. And I'm sitting there going, fine, thank you, yes, right.
Yeah.
But the fact that I found another investor as well, who's now on the back boiler, waiting for
and
another.
it's always good to have a backup investor, because sometimes
yes.
you might have someone who wants to invest. They say, yes, I'm going to. I've got some guy who someone I know really well, and he wants to invest, but he's used the money in a property deal, and he's now waiting for his refinance, and he's going to take a couple of £100,000 out, which is going to lend to me. But it's I was expecting it end of last month, but no, I've got to refinance. So always have a backup plan in place.
Yes.
The other thing I want to ask you, because we've got a little bit of time here, Joanne, and again, I think this will help. On the flow chart, there's this little box, which is number, if I can read it, 31, that says vendor finance.
Yes. I understand this now.
And exactly, and I want to just talk about this because I know that, again, you were really struggling to understand this, and it is totally alien to most people. But what I really admire about you is you ask questions, and you persevere, and you got it. And you got to the point where, and I know you didn't actually do the deal in the end because of various reasons, but you got to the point where not only did you understand it, but you actually explained it to someone who was really happy to do vendor finance with you. Absolutely.
I was this close, wasn't I?
Yeah, and then you decided to pull out for the right reasons, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. But one of the things I love, particularly about Mastermind, is just the way people develop and change over time. And your mindset has moved so much. Yeah. Things that you weren't even aware about or you thought were impossible, you are now doing.
I know. It has been one of the best things I have ever done, educating myself at this great age. yeah, it's been fantastic. It really has.
And how's Mark feel about this, your husband?
He is so supportive. Again, I'm one of the very lucky ones because I have such a supportive husband and a very supportive daughter, 17.
Yes.
Oh, I think that Simon, she's so keen. She's really interested. You were talking about your goals with the youngsters.
Absolutely, so important, I think.
Yes. So,
brilliant. So, Joanne, what are some tips? What are some tips you've got? How can you? Because I mean, I've not only been really inspiring. So, thank you so much for sharing. Have you got 2 or 3 tips? People who are here, whether they're completely new to investing, or whether they're like someone like yourself who invested a long time ago, but like me, didn't really have any education at first, and now you've educated yourself and seen a huge difference, or whether people are already experienced. Have you got some tips that will kind of apply to everyone?
I think one of the best tips really is actually tell people what you do.
Yes.
That has been so powerful.
Yeah.
I hated social media. I literally thought it was what people went and put on, having a meal out at night, and that's all they posted on social media. I hated it with a passion. I really didn't want to do it. I've now embraced that totally with LinkedIn. As you know, I've set up the Business Post Party, which is helping other people on social media.
Yes.
That's been great to help and to give back. So I think one of the top tips is tell people what you do, everybody what you do.
And let's really dig deep here to make sure people get this. Don't just say, "Oh, I'm a property investor," because what does that actually mean? So let me really help you here. I think you should say to people, what I mean by this is on your social media, when you do a post about property, you should put it as a kind of a footnote. When you speak to work colleagues, now you might not want to tell work colleagues about your new business because your boss might not be happy about a new business, but you could certainly say, "I've got a new hobby." To your work colleagues, your family and friends, because your family and friends might know you're doing something important, but what are you actually doing? So you need to be very clearly to it. So write this down. And what you should say is this: I've got a new business or hobby, and what I do is I help people, so write this down, I help people who need to sell their properties quickly, and I help investors get a great return on their money. Let me say that again for you. And if you've heard this before, I apologise. Well, actually, no, I don't, because I know not everyone does it, even though I've said it 1,000 times. What I do is I help people who need to sell their properties quickly, and I help investors get a great return on their money. So what you're doing by this, and if you literally tell them, and look, a way you could do this is there are lots of people in your life who you've not physically seen or met for a couple of years because of lockdown and COVID. So now would be a great time to reach out to those people through social media, or just send them a text or an email. You don't do all of them, you can do a couple a day, and just say, "Hey, Joanne, we've not spoken for a long time. How are you? Let's have a catch up." And they'll come back and say, "Oh yes, I'm not speaking for you. Let you have a call, a Zoom, physical meetup we can do now." And I would just say, don't push property on them. Just say, "Hey, Joanne, how are you doing? What are you up to?" And Joanne will talk about what she's doing and catch up. And if she has any, or the other person has any social skills at all, they'll turn and say, "And what about you, Simon? What are you doing?" They say, "Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I've got this amazing new hobby or business," or whatever you want to call it. What's that? Well, I'm helping people who need to sell houses quickly, and I'm helping investors get a great return. And if you say that, people might go, "Oh, okay, that's fine." And they might not be interested, fair enough. Or they might go, "Oh, my neighbour's been trying to sell that house," or "My cousin's trying to do it." They might know someone who's got a property. And it might be out of your area, but it doesn't matter, because just speaking to any seller, and even if it's not a deal, just speaking to someone and helping them, giving them some advice, is building your confidence. Or it might be a great deal that you could do, or you could pass to someone else. And sometimes people say, "Well, Joe, what do you mean about you're helping people get a great return on their money?" And I know you've had those conversations with people.
It works. And then actually what you find is that they'll actually start to follow you on Facebook.
Yes.
And then they'll come, and this has happened, and it came at about 6 months later. "Oh, and I saw these likes. And then a colleague, his children went to school together. She was going, 'Oh, tell me more.' So when we had meetings about investing in the company.
Yes.
So it wasn't straight, and it's slow burn, isn't it?
Yeah, and what this means is, one was to teach on Mastermind Accelerator, you never have to ask people for money. You don't go, "Hey, Joanne, have you got some money I can have?" Because no one wants that. Feels really uncomfortable. It's embarrassing. You don't have to ask. If you position yourself by raising your profile on social media, and if you don't want to do that, it works, but you don't want to do it, fine, just tell people what you do. And on Accelerator, we teach you some questions you can get people so that actually they want to lend to you. And remember, the whole point of this is you are helping them get a great return on their money. And you might think, as I said earlier, oh, I don't know anyone with money. Well, the thing is, in the UK, we don't really talk about money. It's not seen as etiquette to do. So I guarantee you will know some people, whether they're family, friends, work colleagues, people from your local sports club, whatever, who've got money in the bank and they don't tell people about it, but they've got some savings or they've got some inheritance or they've got some redundancy or whatever it is, and it's doing nothing for them in the bank now. And as long as you know what you're doing, as long as you're careful with their money, obviously, you can help them to make money. And this is the key point. You're helping them, right?
That's the mindset change. And
yes.
That was the big change. Yes, I mean, obviously, the gentleman wanting to reinvest again because he wants that return on his money. I paid him back. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
I don't want it back. I want to keep getting that return.
It was when I got that mindset change, you just feel so much better about it. And you're genuinely, at the moment, with the rate in the bank, you're so helping these people. So
it's like Lisa said, it is all mindset.
Yes, absolutely.
I meet a lot of people who theoretically know what to do in property. They know, but they're not doing it, and often it's fear. In fact, in the next section, we've got some of our coaches talking about overcoming fear and mindset and stuff, and it's so true.
Yes, yes, fantastic.
So this has been brilliant. Joanne, just let's have maybe 2 more tips. Come on, I know you've got lots.
I've got loads of tips. I think another big tip is actually getting, whatever you want to call it, power team, but your team around you. Yeah. Because I could not do this on my own.
Absolutely. And you shouldn't do it on your own, should you?
No, exactly. And whereas that, in my shop and everything, I was trying to do it all on my own. And probably had I had the mindset in my shop, I'd have had a chain of shops.
Probably. Yeah, well, isn't it interesting that what you've learned on Mastermind is transferable into your business?
Yes.
And if you'd had the mindset you have now, then, you might well have had a chain of shops because you would have realised that actually employing someone is not a cost.
Yes.
It does cost money, but actually it's a lot less than the opportunity cost of you tying up all your time. And that's the same thing in property. If you employing a letting agent to look after your property, there is a cost to do that. But if you're just focusing on the cost, you've got the wrong mindset. You need to focus on value. What's the value you're getting at? By paying someone to do things for you, you are freeing up your time, which is the most valuable resource. You can use it finding great deals. Yeah.
But that took me a little while to get there.
And it takes most people.
In all fairness, but now it is here, and it is, yes. So that's having the power team. I mean, I do have an amazing tax accountant and a property tax accountant, a specialist solicitor that can do. I learnt the hard way with the accountant. I had the wrong limited company, and between buying a property, I had to change the limited company because the structure was wrong. I've learnt the hard way, and a few things.
A lot of people say, I'll just set up a company on the internet.
Yeah.
Which you do for £20, but it's not going to be fit for purpose.
No.
And here's the thing, guys. If you want to make lots of money from property, and I'm assuming you do, if you're going to make lots of money, you're probably going to have to pay tax. Now, actually, that's a mindset thing. Yeah. A lot of people say, I don't want to make too much because I'll have to pay too much tax, which is just a crazy thing, right? Yeah. So if you're paying tax, actually, it's because you're making money. Now, there are ways of minimizing the tax that you pay, but in theory, if you're going to be making lots of money, you want to make sure you've got a good accountant who is helping you save that money. And the money you save will be far greater than the investment you're making to get that right person in your power team.
Yes. So having a good accountant has really helped. And again, with the mortgage person, the trust of the mortgage person, because you have to tell them inside legs and measurements and everything on that. Yeah. And just I also have some VAs now on board, which is great. I have my daughter who does the space and interior design and the photography. Great. And then, on PIN meeting, I've met somebody who's lovely Carlo, who is moved miles away, but he's still there on the team helping. My wealth dynamics means I actually don't read contracts awfully well. I have to have somebody. It's just my wealth dynamics not there, but I have somebody on the team that will read and pull that out. So getting your team around you, I think, is a really good tip. Yes.
Brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Joanne, you've shared so much there. I don't think any more slides are there.
No, that was the last one.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So Brilliant. Thank you, Joanne, so much. Great to see you.
It's been amazing, Simon. Thank you very much. And the whole 2 days so far and today, yeah.
Brilliant. And thanks for inspiring so many people, Joanne.
That's a pleasure.
Long may it continue.
Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thank you. I do hope you got massive value from watching this YouTube video. I'd encourage you to click on the link below to come and do the online training with me. And I've got another video lined up for you, which I think is also going to be really useful that you should watch once you've registered for the online training with me. So invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you very soon.